Welcome back to the Playdate by Freshly Picked. I'm your host, Kaitlin Hansen.
And I'm Ashley Sylvester.
Ashley, I'm super excited to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
So just to preface this, Ashley is my BFF and just so happens to be my neighbor.
Not my next door neighbor.
Next door.
Like
Like we built next to each other.
Which is the dream.
Yeah.
Like I
It's so
forget
nice.
how not real that it.
Oh, I know.
I'm like,
I feel like it's like the thing that like kids talk about when they're little. And
Well,
it's
I
like,
mention it to people and they're like, wait, you literally live next door to your best friend? I'm like,
Yeah.
Yes. We like create, like when we're old and
Yeah.
grannies.
It's gonna
We've
be
always
good.
said that. So here we are.
Yeah, we love it. If I need an onion, I go over and get an onion.
No, she doesn't need an onion from me. I'm the person who never has my crap together.
No, I
I'm
did
like,
borrow an
all the
onion.
things in your whole house.
When I'm like, come on
And then I
over.
don't bring them back.
Whatever. Obviously, we're not missing it.
I had an Allen wrench at my house. I think that my husband stole for 6 months, and Eric's probably like, "Can I please get that back?"
No, homeboy has like 60 Allen wrenches, so we are
We
not.
have none.
Yeah.
I have not that husband.
Well, you should have just kept it, but whatever.
A gift from you.
Well, today we are going to talk about your birth story,
Yes.
and it's a really good one.
I have
So,
to think back. I actually feel like you kind of just
yeah.
move on and
Well, I'm
forget
like,
about
it's been a minute.
So this is a refresher for me.
Yes. So, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and then how old Miss Nettie Bean is?
Yes. Am I 31?
Yeah,
I'm
we're both 31.
I
Yeah.
met my husband really young. I was like 14. We were in middle school. I was in middle school. He was in high school. So we've known each other for, I think this year is like 17 years, which is wild. I'm not old enough to know anybody for 17 years. And we have been married for 10 years and we have a precious little 1.5-year-old. She's 18 months.
She's
this
literally
month.
perfect.
Yeah. I mean, we all think that. Like she's
No, but she is.
She's our baby. And so she's the light of our life. And every single day I'm like, how did we get her? And she's been a dream. I mean, kids are kids, but she's been such a joy for us.
Yeah. And we'll talk about maybe this on another podcast episode,
Mhm.
but it was no easy journey getting her here.
No. But it's so funny because I'm like, if I were to go back, I tried to get pregnant for the first time when I was 25. So it was like a 5-year journey from,
Yeah.
start to finish. However, during that whole 5 years, I wasn't actively
Sure.
trying, but I did have infertility. And so we ended up doing IVF to get her. And, I wouldn't change the timeline. Like
Yeah.
now that it's here, I wouldn't change the timeline. I would tell everybody. I mean, obviously, knowing my experience and the
Yeah.
happiness that I have with that, I'm like, everyone should have a kid at 30.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like,
Well, I'm like,
obviously,
you're
I'm like,
more established.
I'm biased to my experience, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
I don't look at like the journey to get her here as necessarily the hardship that I think that some go through, which I
Yeah.
totally feel for. But it all worked out. I have her. I feel really lucky and it worked, which is all you could ask for.
I love it. So let's start from the top. We'll start from like your birth.
Yes, the top of that.
So talk to us about that. You were scheduled.
Yeah, so I had a scheduled C-section. I had a rough pregnancy. I have a condition called hyperemesis gravidarum. There's a handful of people. I'm sure anybody in
HG for short.
HG for short. And it just means that you're just deathly ill. I mean, anybody who's ever carried a baby, I think understands the tinge of nausea. And so,
You were barely there.
No, I was not well. And she almost killed me getting here, but she was worth it and it was fine. However, because of that, I had a scheduled C-section and I think because my pregnancy was so rough that like anything else that came was like no big deal.
Yeah.
Like I just was like, sure, great, whatever. Like nothing could be worse than having this child
Yeah.
in me at this time.
Right.
So I wasn't bothered about it. What had happened is she was breech and she was, what is it when they're facing up? What's the technical term?
Oh, I just call it sunny side up.
Sunny side up. Sure. I'm like, I think there's,
I
yeah.
can't
I'm
even-
like,
I don't even know.
No, I don't even know. So she had flipped. I think she was like head side down.
Yeah.
Like up until whatever. I think I was like 36 weeks. And then she had flipped and he was like, do you want me to manually flip her? And I'm like, I'm going to pass. I'm
Yeah.
going to pass on that because I'm just somebody who like, I didn't want to go through the pain. I didn't really like the idea of like forcing her to do something that she
Right.
didn't want to do. And I had no qualms about a C-section
Yeah.
because it was, and I think that my experience is different because it was scheduled.
Yeah. No, I feel like a scheduled C-section is like,
It's a completely
it actually is great.
Oh, it's great. It's a completely different, like, other side of the spectrum from
Yeah.
an emergency C-section.
Yeah. And I'm like, you go in like knowing what you're,
I know it's a
Getting
breeze.
per
It's
se.
a breeze.
Yeah.
Like I can't even say enough good things about it. Like I will choose it and would choose it
yeah,
again.
I was just going to ask you that.
Oh no, I would choose it again.
I mean, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I'm not doing that.
No, I didn't really I had a moment of like, oh, I wish I was having a vaginal birth. It was a moment,
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for because I can't say that I think most people don't feel that way.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think I was also distracted by the fact that like things hadn't really gone my way up
Right.
to that point. And so
You're like, this would happen.
No, I was just like, sure.
Yeah.
So I think that it was great. So I was scheduled and
At 39 weeks?
39 and I begged. I was like, can you take me at 38? He's
Yeah.
like, no, that's against hospital rules. I'm like, are you sure though?
Yeah.
Are you sure? So yeah,
Just ask somebody.
I'm like 39 weeks on the dot. So I went in, I think it was a Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And I was scheduled at 12.
Great. That's a
Like,
great time.
Great time. So I think I got there at 10.
Yeah.
I literally I like left my house at 9.
And you can't eat before.
No, I couldn't eat before, but I wasn't eating anyway. So
Yeah.
all is well.
Yeah. All the same.
I don't think I ate for 9 months.
Yeah.
And so I went in and it was just a breeze. Like I went in at 10 o'clock. They changed.
Did you walk yourself to the OR?
Yeah, walked myself to the
Which
OR.
isn't that so
Well, you're
crazy?
I never, you don't know until you know. But I think after, yeah, it's different than like you had your emergency C-section.
Yeah, I got wheeled to the ER the first time, but then the second time I'm just like,
it's weird that you're just, you're
like, you just like moseyed down
and
the
then
hall.
You sit yourself on the table.
Like your butt's exposed and out. Like you're just
and
like,
you just like, there's also like no sense of, I'm not saying I wasn't nervous, but there's no sense of panic because it's not an emergent scenario.
Right.
So yeah, no, I got changed. That got changed. We had a minute just to sit. It was an hour maybe that I was sitting there, and we had a cute friend of ours like do a little video for us, which I'm glad that I did. I think I didn't I barely did a maternity shoot that I am now grateful I did.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to do a video because I just like didn't have the emotional energy to like schedule it.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful that I did now because it's like very much a treasured thing that I have. And so we had like a second to do that. And then they were so prompt. Like they came in at like, I seriously think like 12:02, 12:03. And they were like, let's do this. And I'm like, all right. So yeah, walked myself back, sat on the table. They put a spinal block.
Yeah.
Which was like not bad.
No.
I also don't think I don't have like a wildly low pain tolerance, but
I feel like you have a high pain tolerance.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't know what to compare it to.
Yeah.
I think I do, but it wasn't, I don't remember it being like traumatizing.
Yeah.
It is wild. It's immediate. It's the weirdest thing to feel your
so
feet
crazy.
disappear. Like literally disappear. So then I laid back and then like my adrenaline kicked in and I was like, I was a little bit flustered for sure. I mean, I think that's normal. And I don't think anybody tells you. It is like a little, is barbaric the word?
No, it for sure is because it's like you're laying there like.
They're tugging.
Yeah. I mean, you can feel the pressure. They like get like a shoehorn and like.
No, and I was surprised at how much I was like being jolted,
jerked around.
And
yeah.
So I'm looking at Zach and I'm like,
was he watching?
No, so they don't like at my hospital,
okay.
They make you have it up and they told him if you look over this, like you cannot.
Oh,
like,
he cannot.
They were like at our hospital, they were like, you are to stay down, you are not to look over it.
Yeah.
Like we will give you verbal cues as to what's going on. But like, you are not to look over, you're supposed to focus on her. So that was good.
Yeah.
Because also like, I wouldn't say Zach's queasy, but I don't think Zach needs to like see my guts on the table.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, Eric definitely saw mine.
Yeah.
He saw a gaping hole.
Yeah. No, Zach did not. So that was good. And I feel like he was trying to keep me calm because I did have like a weird moment of like, because I was super nervous about throwing up on the operating table.
Yes.
Because I just
threw up for the last 9 months.
I was a multiple like 6, 7, 8 times a day person. So I was like, what if I have to puke during this? I'm on my back. Like I just was like, and I'm not, obviously puking doesn't bother me at that point, but I was just like, I'm numb. My arms are strapped down.
Oh yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? So then I'm like sitting there and I think that's what flustered me is I was nauseous. And then they were trying to give me some like alcohol swabs. I'm like, bro, this isn't going to, I would have tried that.
That's not going to cut it.
So then of course, like I ended up like throwing up sideways, which I think that's what flustered me is they were like yanking. Like it wasn't actually the C-section itself. I think I could have handled that and like stayed in the zone. I think it was that I was like doing 2 things at once. If I had to say like that was the worst part, I think that was the worst part. But other than that, I felt like I feel like, and I'm like, I'm not taking anybody else's experience from them. I'm not talking about an emergency C-section.
Yeah.
I just think that like some people are like C-sections are horrible. And I'm like, I haven't had a vaginal birth, but in my mind, both have cons.
Oh, for sure.
So like and I wouldn't say they're both like a breeze.
Yeah.
Like there's pros and cons to both. So I'm like, I wouldn't, and I feel like the narrative is always that like vaginal births are beautiful and fantastic and all this stuff. And then C-sections suck. And I'm like, no, there is like
C-sections are great as well.
No, yeah. And I just feel like that's annoying because I'm like, no, there's actually like, I would volunteer even if like I hadn't, like if I knew what I knew now, I would choose it voluntarily.
Yeah.
Just for me and my personality. It was great. I didn't have to like wait around and wonder what time my baby was going to be born.
I feel the same way for like the control freak girlies.
Yeah, that's
it's like, I know that I'm getting there, hour to check in, 30 minutes to cut me open and then to stitch me up and like,
so
you're
they
done.
took me back at 12, I think it was like 12:03 and she was out of me by like 12.
Oh, it's quick.
It was like 20 minutes, like max. Like from when I left the ER and was back in my room, it was like 12:38 or something.
Yeah.
Like it was and I just was, and then I was able just to like, I was not exhausted.
No.
I mean, like the adrenaline, you're like exhausted from like, but you're not exhausted.
No, because you're like not pushing and doing like all the things. You're not laboring.
Yeah, I'm not running a marathon.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that happened. They pulled her out of me. They showed her to me over the little clear.
Ours
was opaque. Like is opaque the word? You couldn't see through it.
Oh, you couldn't?
No.
Well, so for mine.
What's it called? Like a little, like a shield or like
well, it's like plastic and then they have like a sheet drape up and then
like a little sheet.
They draped or they put down the curtain thing so I could see over the plastic.
They lifted her up and over.
Okay,
and
that's
showed
nice.
Me and then brought her back down. So I never saw anything. And then they took her over. They handed her to Zach it was like really important to me that Zach held her. Like I wanted him to hold her first. And then like, I wanted him to bring her to me. Cause that was the only part about a vaginal birth that I was sad about, is that I didn't get the chest moment, which I think a lot of moms feel that way.
Sure.
But I was like, I will feel 100% fine with that if Zach is the one to like bring her to me. And then we have our family moment, the same family moment you would have in that scenario.
Totally.
Right. So he did that, but she wasn't crying. And so then they like pulled her back and they were like, give her, like, she needs to cry more. Like she wasn't very like vocal. And so she had some water in her lungs or something. So then they just like stuck a CPAP on her for a minute and whatever. So then they rolled me out.
Yeah.
And then they brought her to me like, I think like 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, and she was fine.
Yeah.
All was well. And she was just the best. And it's so weird.
Like literally, and I'm not just saying this, like the most beautiful baby.
You're so nice.
I'm like such a freak and I'd like show people, like it's not even my baby, but I'd like show all my family. I'm like, look. And people would be like, she's so like, how is a newborn that cute?
She really was a wild, I just don't think they're squished.
No, which is great. But I'm like, no,
she was a really pretty newborn. Like the picture
she was beautiful. Like, and I have kids.
No, I know. Well, yeah, I'm like, it's just cute. Cause I'm like, I remember like taking a picture and sending, cause you're kind of in like a daze and obviously you think they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're your kid. But then like, I remember sending like the little picture, like the first picture we had of her out and everyone's like, she's so cute. Like I can't, I'm like, oh, like we have a cute kid.
No, people are not just being nice. Like she's so freaking cute.
She really is like she's so cute and she's dark. She looks like she's a spitting image of my husband.
Oh, twins.
Which good thing I think my husband's so cute.
Yeah. No, he is.
So she's great. And we got a minute together and then we let his parents come back and my dad come back. And that was good. I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
And then they switched our rooms after that.
Yeah.
And then like the rest is kind of.
I love that. So tell me just a little bit, because there were like certain things that you set up in your room, because for those that don't know, Ashley lost her mom 5 years ago on Tuesday.
Yes, on Tuesday, April 30th. And so I think like aside from just like, if we're just talking birth, specific things, like I was saying, like being nauseous on the operating table was the hardest part. But the hardest part about the whole experience, pregnancy, birth, the whole thing, is the fact that I didn't have my mom. I mean, that's just an emotional time. I think if it's a wedding, if it's a birth, like it's these big milestones in your life that are really hard. And so it was we had a specific picture of my mom and me from this like shoot that we had done like 2 weeks before she passed away. It's like my favorite images of her. We had that there. And then my mother-in-law was really thoughtful and brought like a giant bouquet of yellow roses, which are my mom's roses. And she had little ones for Nettie and big ones for my mom, like kind of this sweet thing. And so we had that. And I think that it was the best way that we could like honor her in that moment. And I was very, very particular about the time that I got, like I specifically reserved time for her.
I love that.
And so then my in-laws and my dad didn't come in for like maybe 45 minutes because I was like I'm a Christian. I'm very much a firm believer in heaven and earth and all the things that come. And I'm like I very much feel my mom. She's a very real thing to me. It's not like she has passed and no. So I'm like, I treat her as such, like as if she is here, because in my world she is. Yeah. And so I specifically set aside time for her that she would know that this was her moment to like relish in what happened, to be proud of what happened, and to have a moment with her granddaughter, who we named after her. Nettie's name is Annette Sylvester. My mom's name was Annette Ferran. My maiden name is Ferran. And so her full name is Annette. And so we just...
I'm going to cry.
I know. Well, Kit, you knew my mom.
Yeah.
Like it's a little tender. Like it's a little tender on top of the fact that Kit's daughter was born the day my mom passed away. And so we're a little interconnected because Liv is like our little... She makes that day better for us. Like it's just, so it's, my mom's kind of woven into the details.
Like literally the most special woman ever.
Yeah,
like,
she really was.
incredible.
She was super, super, like it's hard to, I think everyone feels that way about their mom, but my mom was like a very impactful person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we reserved that. It was super special. I could feel her so close, and I have a few times since her passing that I can so clearly, distinctly feel her presence. And that was one of them. And I'm so glad that I had that, because I was worried about being too distracted to feel that. And it is something that you have to be very like, it's almost like meditative. Is that a word?
Well, I'm like, you have to be in like the
right
headspace and
So that was like amazing. And then from there, we like let that come in. And then I think it was obviously hard for my dad too. But I think it worked out exactly the best way it could for the circumstance. So we did that, and that was really special. And everyone was very thoughtful. And I feel like for me, naming her first name being like after her, like so specifically, it really brought her into the whole situation for me.
I think that's so beautiful.
And my mom was the one 5 years before, when we had started trying to have children, to be like, you need to just like, this isn't the time. Like my mom passed away from cancer, to like preface, but she was sick, and she's like, this is, like, don't try to, because I think there was a part of me that wanted to have a baby to try to, you're just like in this place of like trying to fix something. So I was like, oh, I got to hurry and have a baby because I got to get this baby here for my mom. When in reality, that's not like, my mom's in our lives every day. So I think that like, it was so intentional to name her after my mom and have that part of our birthing experience. And like, it just made it whole for me and such a better experience.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Tell me about your recovery.
I mean, it's like hard, but I'm like I said, I can't imagine your vagina feels any better.
No, I don't think it does.
Like you're sore in a different way, I'm assuming.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like, I think the heart, like the only part that I remember being specifically difficult was like probably the first week of like
trying to get out of bed.
Yes. Like having to like roll, then plop out of bed.
Yeah.
That's annoying. In fact, months after, which I should have done it months before, got myself like a hospital.
Yeah, you got a good bed situation now.
Split king, full hospital, legs up, back up the whole. Because I'm like, if I ever do this again, I mean, I got it for like the convenience of every day, honestly. But if I ever do this again, you can't. It's the key.
Yeah, if I have another kid, I'm like, that's what I'm getting, because I didn't want to leave the hospital because of
the situation.
That bed.
Yeah, you're just sore. Like, I'm like, you have and it's like weird. You don't realize how much you use your abs.
Yeah.
Like I'm driving in the car and I'm like, shiz.
Yeah.
Like
it's like everything.
Like my abs hurt driving in the car.
Even just like, so at the time we were waiting for our car that was on order. And so we just had one car, and I couldn't like step up into my husband's like monster truck.
Yeah.
And so we were borrowing my in-laws 4Runner, which was so nice of them to let us borrow, but it has like a lot more body roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I didn't realize like it like hurt.
Yeah, no,
because you're like
in the car was like one of those places that I was like, wow,
like you don't expect it. Yeah.
So no, I think that was like the one thing that stuck out. But other than that, I felt like my recovery was
You
great.
were like spry.
Well,
like I was shocked when I came over and you were like up and at it.
I think because I was so sick, I like joke that like I wouldn't even know if I had postpartum because it was 10 times better than partum.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my version of postpartum or whatever that looked like was like cloud 9.
Yeah, you're like, I've got this baby out.
Love level 3. Like, it could have been a 3. I don't know. It felt like a 10. 10 out of 10. Because I was just like a whole new, like, it's so funny. Like in this birthing video there's this clip, like in the beginning of the video, you can see the misery in my eyes.
Yeah.
It's like the light is gone. And then there's this like little moment where I like look up to the camera after she's out of me and I'm like, there she is. She's come back to life. Like it really, I'm like, so I think that my recovery was also good because I just like wasn't puking.
Yeah.
And nauseous and had vertigo and all the things. Like I was just like literally a back to, for the first time in 9 months, I felt like myself. So I think that played into like my physical recovery.
Yeah. Oh,
and
for
I felt
sure.
good about that.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Well, because during your pregnancy, like for those that don't know, she was having to get multiple IVs a day.
Yeah. No, it was 2 full liters a day. My next pregnancy, if I do that, will be more. Like I don't know what I know now.
Yeah.
And so I think that I will attack it better. But I was on home health and hospice.
Yeah.
Like the hospice van is in front of my house. I think my neighbors were like, does she have cancer?
They would ask me all the time. They're like, is Ashley good? And I'm like, well, no, but like
she's not gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. I was just maybe like, she's there.
Right. Barely. No.
Yeah.
So it's like funny because I'm like, that's what it is. Like if you're on IVs from home, it's home health and hospice. So they like would come drop it off. I had a daily nurse every 24 hours. Actually, thankfully, I had started with this nurse.
Yeah.
But thankfully, our across the street neighbor worked for the health company that was
shout out to Josh.
Thanks to Josh. Was administering my IVs. And so he was like an angel because my veins, like, of course, my veins won't hold an IV longer than I think like max 30 hours and 36 maybe. And so the problem, like the average person can hold an IV for like 72 to like 90 hours. And so that's a lot better to like have an IV for 3 or 4 days and then have it replaced. But mine's like a 24-hour thing. So Josh would come over in the morning, like say it was a Tuesday morning. I could do my 2 bags that day, my 2 bags the next morning, and then he would have to come over that night. So it was like a morning, night, every single day.
That's a lot.
And he was an angel because it was just, and I looked like a drug addict. Like my arms were.
Oh yeah, you're bruised.
I had like what do they call them? Like,
hematomas? Yeah,
pretty essentially. Like, and I was not good. Like I have this funny story of when I was pregnant. I was in California on a trip, and this is the very beginning of my IVs. I was maybe like 8 weeks along, and I didn't know what monster it was at this point. Like I just thought must be how people feel. And I had this IV. It had obviously not. It was like 36 hours later, it fell out, and I was gone for like a week, and I was like, I have to get an IV. So I went to the ER, and I was like, hey, I didn't like, now I say it, I'm like, obviously, but I was like, hey, can you put an IV in me and leave it in me? And he's like, no,
wait, that's so funny. He was probably like,
no, he's like that.
Who's this chick?
No, well, then he looks at me and he like with my track marks, like I look like I've been taking needles in the arm, and he goes. And I don't look good. Like it's not even like I rolled up looking like fresh. No, I look like I might be
close
on
to death.
Drugs.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, can you take this? And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh, I see what he's like, no, because you could be an addict. And like, how do I know? And I'm like, crap. So then I'm like,
You're like,
now
fair.
I'm on some list, I feel like.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, we had to get like clearance from like he had to send all this paperwork, talk to my home health company, and then they would do it. But he was like, looked at me like,
he's like,
we don't leave IVs in anybody, lady. Like that's the weirdest. So, I'm like, it's just a funny thing. So yes, like I feel like because it's a counterbalance, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I just think that has its pros too. Like I had a beautiful postpartum because I think that my perspective was a little bit different. But also I just think that my hormones were obviously so off because I had horrible partum depression. Like my depression was horrific when I was pregnant. That like I think they almost like did the opposite of what most women have happened to them, where like mine almost seemingly bounced back to normal because they were so off.
Right.
Where the average person, I think
I was like the complete opposite.
Well, I think I don't think that's
I was like, I have no anxiety. I have no depression when I'm pregnant.
Oh, it's like, no, I think there's so many people that literally feel better.
Yeah.
I have a friend who has psoriatic arthritis that it's gone. It's gone when she's like, dude, I want to just like carry kids for my life because I feel better.
I know that happens for a lot of people with like endometriosis.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're like, it's gone.
It's like cured. Yeah. So I feel like it almost like, so that's not a normal circumstance, but I feel like it almost like my hormones realigned.
Yeah.
Which is like, not to say that I definitely didn't have my bad days, but I think that mostly I felt almost back to myself.
Which is good because
it's a good trade. I'm like, I feel like it was deserved.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm like
100%.
I'm like, if I had to do that for 9 months, then I'm like, I feel like,
I need to be good for the
like
next.
give me like, or yeah.
Throw
like,
me a bone.
Yeah. Just a little one. So I did.
Yeah.
I got a bone.
Love it.
And it was great. So I feel like my recovery was, I mean, like I said, you're sore.
Yeah.
You're tired.
Yeah.
It's all the things you expect. But I don't remember, like the only things that stick out was my stomach. Other than that, I don't remember being like, overly sad or overly like I remember like my body healing properly. I felt like I could get up and go and do. I had great support. I have an amazing family, great friends. Like, you were next door.
She means me. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm like I have people like literally an army of people.
Yeah.
Like my neighborhood got me Walmart Plus.
Which that's the best freaking gift
Ever.
I got that and then I was like, you need that.
No, I've given it 100 times over. Like you pay $100 a year to have free delivery to your house.
It's so nice.
It was the nicest thing my neighborhood's. I mean, like the best. So I felt like I had all the resources.
Yeah.
So
I feel like my like hack or like best gift, I learned part of it from my mother-in-law. She brought over like a big like Costco size thing of like disposable plates and napkins and cutlery and cups. And so I was like, I did the same thing for you because I mean, I know that's not good for the planet, but I'm just trying to make it. And that was so nice not to have to worry about dishes. And then Walmart Plus, I'm like,
I don't want to do dishes.
No, we're not doing dishes.
No, it was great. Like, I feel like I don't remember it being, anything major. I think like Nettie was colicky for about 3 months. And I think in my postpartum journey, my lowest point was, let's see, so she was born October 5th. It was probably like the week of November 20th.
Mm-hmm.
I was tired.
Yeah.
Like she was. And I think, and it was so weird because like my logic overrides a lot of my emotions for the most part. And that has its good things and bad things to it. But it plays well for me in circumstances where like things are out of control. Like I'm able to like override my emotional, like I almost am like deal with it first. And then
you're very much a realist.
Yeah. And I cry later. Like it's like I cry after it's over and it's like, this is the time. Like, so it's not like I lose my crap while it's going. So I think that like that was my, I did that, but it is wild what a lack of sleep.
Oh.
Like unwell. Like I think because I was up at this cabin with my family and my sister was like, I think they were like, we have to have an intervention. Because I was like, it's like, when you just hit that, like I think every mom knows like the day that they were like, that was the worst day.
Mm-hmm.
That I remember being like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm just like, I'm so exhausted. She won't stop crying. Like, what do you do? Like so that was probably like my worst emotional day was like, I think it was completely the lack of sleep because it sends you into like a psychosis state.
Oh, I'm like, you don't want to know me.
No. Well, no, I just was like completely like, like I'm a handler and I'm a dealer and I was not handling and I was not dealing.
It's so hard.
So it was good though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I think like after that, like she was getting a lot better. The formula had finally kicked in.
Yes.
She was like, it was a dairy issue. So like we did like a, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever fancy $5,000 million formula that of course my child needs. And so once we got that figured out, then I was like, there you are.
Yeah.
I'm a new human. You're a new human. Girl. And she's never been a great sleeper, but that's my one she's a happy girl.
Yeah.
She's so cute.
So
and
cute.
She's like, she's our only one. So I feel like I'm just able to soak it up right now. And I plan to for as long as I can.
Talk to me about, first, I'm going to switch up the order a little bit. Tell me about if there's anything that you would do differently or for like, if you were to get pregnant again and your birth.
Yeah, no, I think specifically with my birth, and this isn't like, it's not shade to... This is the deal. So me and my husband were kind of at odds about the like the hospital situation.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about
I feel like a lot of people are.
No, and we've talked a lot about this. Like me and you are similar in the fact that I'm like, in my perfect world, no one would be there.
Yeah.
Including my parents. I'm including my dad. I'm not singling out just like, and even if my mom was alive, like I love my mom and like, of course, like what I would do now, but like, I just am also just somebody who I'm like, I just need a minute. And I like I'm very independent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an independent person who loves her family. Like I see my family 100 million times a week is what it feels like.
Yeah.
But I still like, I need my space and I like to do things the way I do. So like we were kind of at odds about that because in my perfect world, we would have had the whole hospital stay to ourselves and then afterwards had all of that community come in.
Yeah.
And he didn't love that, which I think is fair. Like, we're two separate people with two separate ideas. And so we had like originally, I think like I had kind of put my hands up for it because I was like, you know what, like, we had met eye to eye. We had met halfway on a lot of other things and he had come and helped me in a lot of different aspects in other ways that I was like, okay, I'll bend on this. Right. And I really actually, like looking back, I love the parents. I don't mind the parents. I really liked that his parents were there. I really loved that my dad was able to be there. I loved that and it was perfect for me. Where the overwhelm came was my grandparents. The issue is that I'm the oldest grandchild on both sides, and Zach is essentially the same on the other. And so my grandparents are young and they're able, and we have all of them.
Yeah.
We have 2, 4, 6, 8 your 8 grandparents, Nettie's great grandparents.
Yeah.
And I'm close with them. I really am. I adore them and I love them. And it's like, you can't just invite one.
Right.
So then all of a sudden it's like, I think he wanted, like, I don't think it was fully discussed, but then it was like, oh, can my grandparents come? And I'm like, sure. I mean, I'm in a daze.
Yeah.
Like, I'm bleeding unwell and my uterus hurts. I don't know. Like, I just was like, you're just kind of like, sure. And you are happy. Like, I think in that moment I was like saying yes because I
think you also like don't know what you're kind of agreeing to.
No, and I think I in the moment did want it. So it's not like I'm saying that somebody like was like coming and intruding into. No, I think in the moment I was like, yeah, sure. Well, after 8 people, I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like that, this is a hard no. And I'm like, I love all of you. And it's like, not that I just needed more time than that. And it was like a 24-hour period of like 8 plus his parents, plus my dad and his wife, and then also my siblings, which are actually the people, even before grandparents, I'm even more open to siblings.
Yeah.
Because like Zach has 1 sister and I am the oldest of 4, but like I'm very, very close. Like I can see that.
Yeah.
But like literally, I mean, how many people were in and out of that room? I think you had that for the same scenario.
Oh, for my first 36 visitors in the first day.
I was one of them.
I know, but it was different.
Okay, but still, I'm saying like I would.
And then I was like, nobody else can come. But then people just kept coming. And so then for my second, I was like, nobody's coming. Not even Liv's not even gonna meet her sister.
No, but I also loved the video of you being in your home.
Yeah.
Like of her meeting her. So it's like, I think they're, and like, I think also our parents come from that generation where they're like, what do
everybody shows up.
Well, because I had originally said to my dad, like, no one's coming. And he was like freaking ticked. Like he was like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you, like, he was so mad. And I'm like, Dad, this is like not that big of a deal. Like, give me 36 hours. Like I literally was in the hospital for like a day and a half. I don't even think I was there for 2 full days. And I was like, dude, seriously, like, don't act like, like I was giving him a hard time because I'm like, it's not. But I think that to his defense, that is like what you did.
Yes.
Like the waiting room was full. Like I remember being at my aunts and uncles' births, like me,
which is
like,
so
waiting
crazy.
for like at the door for us to go in right after the baby was born. Like so it must have so fine. But I think that's the thing is I would change is I would have said no to that.
Yeah.
Because the overwhelm was a lot. Like by the end of the night, I was like very like it just is like it's too much.
It's overwhelming.
So I think my advice to any mom, it's like, yeah, do what you want to do, like with your partner. Like I'm here for like that. Like, but also like be very intentional. It's the same advice I'd give about a wedding.
Yeah.
10 years later, don't invite the whole freaking world to your wedding. Like
you don't get that time back.
Super intentional about who's coming and like you're going to hurt feelings and you need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And like if they want to be upset about like you trying to like survive is what I felt like in that first 36 hours, then like I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm not I can't give attention.
It's their problem, not yours.
I can't give attention and energy to that. And it's like it's too much people pleasing for one day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I'm not really a people pleaser, but it's amazing what you do in a situation like that where you like feel the need to like do that. So I think I would just I think I would say to all the extended family, we want you to come, we love you, but we're going to make that later and I will do that next time.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great. Okay, well, finishing off, tell us about the mom that you hope to be.
So Mother's Day is obviously around the corner.
Yeah.
Mother's Day is like a really clearly, for obvious reasons, a big deal for me. Not just for the fact that like my mom passed away and it's like a very tender time, but my mom also passed away. Like not only passed away and I have like it's Mother's Day, but like passed away
so close to Mother's Day.
Right?
Yeah.
On top of the fact that like I own a company called Slight Beauty. We do Mother's Day events every year typically. And it's just like a time, like my family and I, we do it's a whole thing. Like it's a day to celebrate her. And I remember writing like a passage in my journal that I later had posted on social media. And I'm a pretty private person. Like I don't put Nettie on social media for the most part and anything like, so I had put it on social media just kind of in celebration of her, but I was reading it back the other day because it was on my feed. It was on Mother's Day. So it was like a year after Nettie was born. And I was just saying how, I remember that morning, like holding Nettie and like promising her that I would do everything I could in every moment to be there for her. And that's all that I could promise. Like I wasn't going to be perfect. I wasn't going to make, like, I know I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to do everything I can to show up in every moment to be the best mom that I have at
Yeah.
that ability in that time. And then in that same moment, I remember like thinking my mom did that exact thing for me. In the short 48 years my mom was alive and the short 27 years that I had her, she fully fulfilled everything I will ever need for the rest of my life, even with her not being here. And like that's a short timeline. And I
for
only
sure.
can pray that I make the same impact for Nettie that if in like, I mean, either hypothetically or literally, if I'm somehow not here and I land myself in a similar circumstance, that she can look back and be like, no, my mom literally did everything and more than I ever will need.
Yeah.
In whatever time that is. So
I love that.
it's not specific, but I just hope to be.
Oh, I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your birth story.
You're welcome.
I love
You're
it.
so
I like
welcome.
got weepy.
We're a weepy couple.
Oh,
me and you.
yeah.
I'm like,
I
like,
will.
I can keep my crap together for certain things, but then you put me in another. I'm like, Kit and I are criers for others.
Yeah.
I don't cry about my own scenario.
No.
If somebody else is talking, I'm like, well, I can't watch Instagram these days.
No. And we both are like animal people. I remember calling her one day and being like, I just read a news article that every animal is adopted from the Humane Society.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And then you start crying and then,
well, I'm like 2 weeks ago, I literally called our other girlfriend, Kenzie, who I believe was
is on here
on the podcast. And we were on a cruise and our dog sitter was like, I think your dog's not good. And I was like, what? So I called Kenzie. I'm like, you need to go check out my dog. Because Kenzie's a dog lover. Like, yeah, we're just like, I actually like dogs more than I like most people.
Yeah. I mean, for good reason.
So I'm like, it's emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love it.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, everyone.